The walls were immense, towers of cold, hard stone, built to touch the grey sky. For those inside, these ramparts promised safety, a shield against chaos. Below, an enemy army waited, a sea of tents and flickering campfires. But the real danger wasn't always outside. Sometimes the deadliest enemy was already within the gates, unseen, silent. Not a foe for arrows or boiling oil, but one that grew stronger every day. Imagine the gates barred, the drawbridge up, your family huddled close. The enemy can't reach you, yet. Then a cough echoes in the cramped quarters. Hunger gnaws. The well water tastes thin. Relief curdles into dread. The fortress becomes a trap. The air thickens with the smell of too many people, the city's lively hum replaced by tense silence. Every footstep, every distant shout, every tolling bell adds to the weight of fear. The walls meant to keep the enemy out now keep despair in. People look at the stone that promised life and see the shape of a tomb. This was siege warfare, a battle fought in kitchens, infirmaries, and mines. The grand castle, symbol of power, could be undone by what you couldn't see: starvation, fever, hopelessness. The stones could stand for centuries, but the people inside were fragile, and their enemies knew it. We imagine sieges as battles of steel and fire, but the final blow was often invisible. The true enemies, hunger, thirst, and disease. The besieging army's greatest weapon was time. They waited for food to run out, water to foul, sickness to spread. Supplies inside the walls were always finite. Every day, the defenders grew weaker, more desperate. Every meal became a calculation, every sip of water a resource to guard. Disease thrived in the crowded, unsanitary city. One sick person could spark an epidemic. Waste piled up, vermin flourished, and infection spread. A cough could sweep through a barracks like wildfire. The defenders fought two wars, one against the enemy outside, one against weakness and sickness within. A starving soldier can't wield a sword. A garrison ravaged by disease can't man the walls. The fortress was only as strong as the people inside. The siege became a slow, agonizing countdown. Victory belonged to the side that could endure the longest. The walls might stand, but the human spirit was the true battleground. In the end, it was often not the sword, but starvation and sickness that decided the fate of a city. The invisible enemy was always the most dangerous. In 1346, the Genoese port of Caffa faced the Mongol army of the Golden Horde. The siege dragged on, attackers stormed, defenders resisted, but neither side broke. Then the Mongols' secret weapon arrived, plague. The Black Death swept through their camp, killing soldiers in droves. Jani Beg, the Mongol leader, made a horrific decision. He ordered plague-ridden corpses catapulted over Caffa's walls. Death rained down. Bodies landing in streets, courtyards, even homes. Panic and horror gripped the city, but the real terror was the disease that followed. The plague spread rapidly, unstoppable and unseen. The defenders couldn't fight it. The city became a living hell. The stench of death filled the air, and the healthy locked themselves away, but there was no escape. The city's defences crumbled, not from Mongol assault, but from sickness. Survivors fled by sea, carrying the plague with them. They brought it to Europe, unleashing the greatest pandemic in history. The Siege of Caffa became a turning point, not just for the city, but for the world. The invisible enemy had breached the walls. The lesson: sometimes the deadliest weapon is the one you cannot see. The Black Death changed the course of history, all because of a siege. The shadow of Caffa stretched across continents. The strategy of siege was simple: cut a city off from the world. Armies built rings of trenches and watchtowers isolating the fortress. The first target, water. Rivers were dammed, wells poisoned. Even castles with internal wells could run dry under pressure. Food was next. Storerooms emptied, rations shrank. As weeks turned to months, diets grew grim. Horses, pets, even boiled leather. Starvation drained strength and spirit. Defenders watched the enemy, well-fed and patient, just beyond reach. The world outside continued, but for those inside it was lost. The siege was as much psychological as physical. Isolation bred hopelessness. The slow certainty of starvation was a weapon more powerful than any army. The fortress became an island of despair. In the end, it was the mind that surrendered first. Daily life under siege became a grim routine. Mornings meant ration lines, not markets. Hunger strained friendships. Every crumb was precious. Soldiers grew weak, barely able to defend the walls. Fear was constant, of attack, of sickness, of starvation. Nights brought cries of the sick and the silence of despair. Yet people clung to normality, telling stories, praying, stretching supplies. Grain was mixed with bark, bones boiled for days. Even in a stone cage, the will to survive endured. The castle courtyard, once lively, became a breeding ground for disease. Waste piled up, attracting rats and flies, carriers of plague. Contaminated water spread dysentery and cholera. Crowded quarters fueled epidemics. The sick and healthy lived side by side. The heart of the fortress became its greatest threat. The commander's battle was with ledgers as much as swords. He rationed every crumb, made impossible choices, and enforced discipline. Morale was fragile, order had to be absolute. Disease meant desperate measures, primitive quarantines, mass graves, wine as antiseptic. Every decision was a gamble for survival, the hope to hold out for rescue, one day at a time. Most sieges ended not with battle but with surrender. Survivors stumbled out, broken by hunger and disease. These ordeals changed everything. Castles were redesigned with bigger granaries and better water systems. Cities stockpiled food, drove livestock inside, and prioritized sanitation. Public health became a matter of survival. The lessons were written in suffering and could not be forgotten. Today, castle ruins evoke romance, but their stones hold darker stories. The greatest threats were invisible: starvation, disease, despair. The true legacy of siege survival depended on more than walls. It needed hope,